What is up, YouTube? It is your boy Dominique, and we are back for the week 1 picks of the NFL season. If you guys have not, this is your video reminder telling you that if you're in the league, to go and make your picks, make your selections. I'm going to go through, I made some picks last week. I jumped a little bit ahead of the gun, just excited about NFL football coming back. And I made some picks. Obviously, we have more information, and we will go through and we will see if my picks are still valid, if I want to change anything, or if I don't want to change anything. All right, let's get right into it. This is going to be a little bit different video where I just do like a live stream type video and just, no editing, just straight through talking and getting my point across. So let's go. First game I have, which is the lowest. So I pre-organized these by how confident I am in my pick. So we have my lowest confidence is in the Seahawks beating the 49ers. I just think the Seahawks are a much better team. I think that Sam Darnold is a much better quarterback than people give him credit for. And Seattle won games last year with Geno Smith, and I don't see that big of a difference between Geno Smith and a Sam Darnold as your quarterback. I could arguably see a point where Sam Darnold could have a higher ceiling than Geno Smith, and I know that's not a very popular opinion. I'm a big fan of JSN. I see a year 2 coaching staff. Sam Darnold's obviously clearly smart enough to pick up plays on the fly. He came into the Vikings organization last year and was able to operate their offense. I don't imagine Seattle's is that much more complicated or that much more difficult for him to pick up. They have a great running game. They have a good defense. I think that the Seahawks are slept on by a lot of people. I think 49ers are past their peak. They deal with too many injuries. They lost a lot of people this offseason. I don't think Brock Purdy has as high of a ceiling. I think he's a fine quarterback when you have a ton of weapons around him, but I don't think he's going to go out there and win you games himself. He might be able to do it for short stretches, but I don't think for a full game he's going to be the reason why you win a game. You need Christian McCaffrey, which is healthy. You need Kittle, which is healthy. So right now, going into the game, this is like the best chance for them to look as good as they possibly could. You don't have Brandon Ayuk. He's hurt still or coming back from injury. And Jennings is also coming back from injury at their wide receiver group. I just think that you don't have as many weapons as you used to have. You lost a lot of those, maybe not flashy players, but you lost a lot of those players that have been solid and gotten you to Super Bowls for many years. I think you might have a little bit worse offensive line. Yeah, I think that this is a game where a lot of people are going to pick the 49ers, but I think the Seahawks have a really good chance of winning this game. But I still put them as my lowest probability just because it's really hard to go against the grain. It's really hard to pick against what everybody else is picking. But I did it here again. I picked the Ravens over the Bills. I think the Bills, one thing that Josh Allen, I think, struggles with from being a fan of his and watching, early last season is I feel like it takes the Bills a while to get going. Like just a couple games, not like anything crazy, but it does. I feel like he tries to do too much himself in the first couple games, and ultimately I think he's not as they're not going to be as efficient, or they're not going to be as, mid-season form as they would be normally facing the Ravens. Ravens are a good team. I think Derrick Henry is still, doing Derrick Henry things. I think they got a lot of different change of pace backs too that could be, people aren't talking about the backups behind Henry. Henry's still amazing, but they have a lot of good backups as well. I think this is just 50-50. I see everybody going with the Bills. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think Lamar, just continues doing Lamar things, and, we get maybe Mark Andrews starts the year a little bit faster than he did last year as well. So you don't end up with that thing with the same issues. Next, we got the Vikings Bears. I'm actually picking the Bears here. This is my third upset. I think the Bears they were a good team last year in a tough division. They not only kept everybody as far as players wise that were important, they've gotten better, whether people want to believe it or not. They've brought in talent, especially on the offensive line. Caleb, a year older, drafted number 1 overall in a very good quarterback draft. I don't think that he's going to get worse. You have Ben Johnson, a much better play caller than Eberflus, and a much better offensive coordinator. We'll see how good he is as a head coach. I think that they learned a lot of last year, and they lost a lot of games with situational issues where they didn't spike the ball, or they lost a lot of games that they shouldn't have lost last year based on. Was this recording? Oh, hi. This video is brought to you by my new song, Wrestling Silence. If you didn't know, I make music, and I am sponsoring, with my time, making videos like this. So if you could please, please, please go and check out one of my newest songs, Wrestling Silence by DRGN. That's my music name, my artist name, my stage name, whatever you want to call it, my rapper name. I don't care what you call it. I would greatly appreciate it if you went and checked that out. Thank you for your time. I'll let you get back to the video. Yeah, even though they lost some games that I think they should have won, or they were really close battles, I think that overall they learned from that. They're still, they still got a lot of talent. And I think that you're going to see a much better Bears team this year. The Vikings had almost the opposite effect on their team, right? They were a solid team, very similar to the Bears, but they won all of their close games. And I think a lot of that had to do with Sam Darnold. You just had a veteran presence at quarterback that could get it done. That had, gone through some adversity in his career, and he was able to take that adversity and translate it into those wins and kind of push the Vikings over the edge. Even though the Vikings have a ton of talent on their roster, they might be the most talented roster. I think you are going to miss Jordan Addison, and you're going to miss some things at the beginning of the season. You have a rookie quarterback. I just think as great as JJ might be, I think there's going to be some issues that you're going to come across that you don't know there are issues until you go out there and you play football, well, for when it really matters, the regular season. This isn't a knock on JJ. I just think the Bears are going to be much more prepared, and they're going to be ready for week 1. Next, you got the Lions and the Packers. Obviously, I'm a Packer fan. You should be able to see the cheese head behind me. If you can't, there is a cheese head back there. I'm from Wisconsin. The Packers, obviously, we just got Micah Parsons. I feel good about our defense before we got Micah Parsons. I feel even better about our defense going into this game. I feel like we kind of have a chip on our shoulder after losing back-to-back last year. The first game wasn't that. It was still a good game. It wasn't as close. The second game, there was a ton of adversity, and the Lions had to go for it on a 4th down and were afraid to give us the ball back to win the game. I think that these two teams are a lot closely. I don't know what the right word is. These two teams are closely matched. I think the Packers have gotten better. I think defensively we've gotten better. I think offensively, hopefully Matthew Golden works out. But I think even without Matthew Golden or Micah Parsons, I feel like even without those two pieces, we were going toe-to-toe with the Lions last year. We've kept all of our coordinators. We kept our head coach. We've kept the same people that were able to put those game plans together. Jordan Love's a little bit more healthy this year. So I just think the Packers are kind of slept on here. I think the Lions have a little bit more adversity, a little bit more question marks. The Lions are great. They have a great roster. They have awesome people. They have a great head coach. I love Dan Campbell. I love his mentality. I just think those coordinators are good coordinators are hard to come by. That's just my, impression of the NFL is you can have a good coordinator and it can completely change the way a team works. I mean, even the Packers saw it when we had Joe Barry to going to Halfley. Just the difference in that coordinator at that position, our defense almost took like a 180. Like, we're starting to see the defense reach that potential that we thought was there by the amount of draft capital we had put into the team at those positions. And it wasn't until we made the switch from Joe Barry to Halfley that we saw that kind of get unleashed. And I think that you can maybe have a little bit of a step back here from the Lions. Not saying that the Lions aren't great. Not saying that the Packers are going to blow them out or anything. I just think it's going to be a good, solid game. And I kind of have the edge to the Packers here. But obviously, this is my fourth lowest points as far as how confident I am in that pick. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions win. I'm going to be rooting for the Packers, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions did win. And it's always hard to pick against the Packers. It's just me. Moving on down here, we got the Panthers and Jaguars. Again, this is another one where I just haven't seen enough from the Jaguars. They have flashes. To me, really, these two teams are they're like the same team. They're kind of two teams that are probably, fringe playoff teams. One of them could go on a run and make the playoffs, or they could both miss the playoffs. The Panthers, beginning last year, after like week 3, I would have thought, no way, Bryce Young looks horrible. No way they turn this thing around. No way they get this thing going in the right direction. But really, by the end of the year, I was actually quite impressed with what Bryce Young was doing. I became kind of a Bryce Young truther. I just haven't. I think for 2 first pick quarterbacks, I feel like I haven't seen the amount of like growth as a player as I haven't. I've seen Young get better, where I haven't seen that from Trevor Lawrence. It's not Trevor Lawrence started off better than Young, but I've seen growth from Young. I haven't seen really any growth. He's been at that same level, if not downtrending and almost getting worse or staying about the same. I just haven't seen a leap from Trevor Lawrence. I want to see that leap before I put them winning some of these games that you're going to be needing. You need to show up. You need to show up in these games. One of these teams could show up and completely change how people perceive them going in this year. Man. Next we got the Texans and the Rams. I'm actually picking the Texans here. I don't understand. I understand the Rams are good. This isn't a knock on the Rams. I don't understand the Texan hate all of a sudden. You had a rookie quarterback, second year last year. People had more film on him. You have to overcome. It's like every year you're going to have like one thing I've seen in quarterbacks is you have like a breakout year, which for him happened really early, his rookie year. Then when you have that breakout, teams are going to then understand, okay, this is what he's good at, this is what he's not good at. They're going to game plan for it. They're going to have more film. And then you're going to plateau, and then you got to break out again. And I think that CJ Stroud has that in him after seeing film from last year, doing film study. This is really just the belief in CJ Stroud. I think they have a great defense. I think these teams are very similar. I think there's a lot more question marks with the Rams too, if Matthew Stafford's even going to play. What else? Thinking about the Rams, I think the Rams have a really good run team. That could be another knock on the Texans. Texans don't really have a solid running offense right now because Mixon's hurt. But you never know. They do have Nick Chubb. I think he can get the job done. I do think they have the better weapons. Well, I guess I can't really say that either. Maybe I'm changing on the Rams. Holy. Because they have Puka and Devontae Adams. Texans have Nico Collins, which is a dog, and they have Kirk. If Kirk. Ooh, I'm changing it. Last minute pick swap. Pick swap. We're going to go with the Rams over the Texans. And this is why I'm doing this live. One shot. Well, technically two because I stopped because I didn't know what was going on with my computer, if it was recording or not. All right, next we got the Dolphins and the Colts. I just think the Dolphins are a better team. They have better players. It's not that the Colts can't win this game. It's just we don't know what's going on with the Colts, and I need them to prove me wrong. I'm going to pick against the Colts until they prove that they can beat some teams. So that's just straight up. Dolphins have been a more well-run organization, even without Tua. And I think Tua is going to be fine this year. I think we've finally overcome the concussions. At least I'm praying and hoping that we've overcome the concussions. I don't really want to see that anymore. So let's move on to the next one. Bengals, Browns. Browns have a good defense. I like Joe Flacco being their quarterback. I just think the Bengals, have a better offense. They probably have a bad defense, but I don't think the Browns' offense is good enough to keep up. It is an interesting matchup to me because I do think it will be a lot closer than people give it credit for. But I just think you're going to end up in a shootout. I don't think Joe Flacco's arm is going to keep up. I think we're going to see like a 42, 36, 35 game. And Bengals are going to end up pulling it out. And the Bengals defense might be better than people think. We all kind of say that the Bengals defense is kind of like non-existent, but they did do some things. They re-signed Trey Henderson. I just think that there's a lot of potential that the Bengals are better defensively than we give them credit for. Next, we got the Steelers, Jets. Jets, another one of those organizations where I like that they were able to move on from Aaron Rodgers. I like that they believe in one of my favorite players in the NFL, which is Justin Fields. I just think he carries himself right. I think he tries really hard. He might not be a starting quarterback in the NFL, though. He might not be a starting caliber quarterback. He just might have some flaws in his game that he can't overcome. I do like the new head coach. I like their defense. They have a defensive head coach. I think that they could potentially have some struggles or cause some struggles for Aaron Rodgers, but I think this is going to be just a low-scoring game, and I think Rodgers gets it done. I think it's going to be like a 12-14 game or something crazy like that, 12-15, whatever weird numbers you can come up with, where there's a couple field goals in there for both teams, and you're not really comfortable with either team at any point. Like, the Steelers could be up for a while or for majority of the game, but you're never really comfortable because it's just that low scoring of a game. And, you do have potential with like Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Fields for that team to potentially be a pretty explosive offense. I just don't know their coordinator. I don't know if you're really going to improve from what Rodgers was able to do last year. It's going to be a completely different looking offense. I like Garrett Wilson. I like a lot of things about the Jets. I just think that you have Rodgers, you have Tomlin, you have a great defense that the Steelers have. That's just a lot to overcome for the Jets, especially when you're so young. But playing with house money, who knows? Next, we got the Broncos over the Titans. My second favorite team in the NFL is the Titans. I really like Cam Ward. I really like, Ridley. I like what they're saying. I like the way that he's able to process the game. I like what I've been seeing from Cam Ward. I just think he needs some actual reps in the game. As far as the Broncos go, Bo Nix looked great last year. Sean Payton has proven why he is the head coach that he is. He's really turned around this organization. It's kind of crazy to think like at least the way I perceive the Broncos is they're likely to make it into the playoffs this year after, a couple years ago, the Russell Wilson experiment. They looked completely lost with Hackett out there. It just seemed like completely different team, going in the completely opposite direction. They were old. They weren't able to do what they needed. Now the Broncos seem exciting. They seem to have a quarterback that can operate in Sean Payton's schemes, and I think that they have a lot of. They're a team that's like gonna surprise teams, like teams that you aren't gonna expect them to lose are gonna lose to the Broncos. That's gonna be the team that sneaks people. But then they're gonna have, because they are still rather young, they're gonna have dumb losses too. They're gonna lose the teams that they shouldn't lose to. But I am picking the Broncos here, and I feel pretty confident about that. Next, we got the Raiders and the Patriots. I'm going with the Patriots. I like Drake May a lot. The Raiders, I do actually like the Raiders. I think they're going to be a lot better than people think. I just think that, well, I mean, this is another game where I could go back and forth on. There's a reason why it's 57-43. I actually might move this down a couple notches just now looking at it, because I like Geno Smith. I like Jacoby Myers. I know he asked for a trade, but it's just, I just like the team a little bit better. They have Ashton Genty. I don't know if Genty's going to have that big of an impact starting week 1. I think it might take him a couple games to get into the groove. But I definitely could see this team being a lot better than people give it credit for. Patriots, I just think they have more pieces, right? They have quarterback Drake May. I think he's probably a better quarterback than Geno, but it is a revenge game for Geno. I do have to remember that. Geno was drafted by the Patriots. This is a revenge type game. I do believe those narratives. Revenge games just sparks something in people. But I am a Vrabel person. Obviously, I was a Titan person, so I believe Vrabel's the right coach for the job in the Patriots organization. I still think Diggs has something to offer. I think Matt Collin. I just think you have more pieces. You have what's the running back? Travion Hendrickson. I think they just have a lot of. These teams are really equally matched, honestly. Do you just believe that Drake May took more steps forward end of last year, or do you think Geno Smith can? Geno Smith always surprises. You know what? I'm switching to the Raiders. I did it. A second switch. I'm switching to the Raiders, but I'm moving this down. We're moving this to. Let's move it to right behind. Where did I move it to? Right behind the Miami game, I thought. Where's Miami? Yep, right behind the Miami game. We moved it down, moved the Dolphins up. All right, I like that. I like that I changed my answer there. I like that I moved it down. Let's continue on. Next, we got the Buccaneers and the Falcons. I just like Baker Mayfield. I thought that the Browns messed up when they got rid of him, but I think that they made Baker into an even better Baker. And he's got some cookies for the Falcons. I think this is another, good matchup. These guys played tough against each other last year, all year. I think they may have split the series, each won one. But I like the Buccaneers. I like Baker. I think when you have a younger quarterback, honestly, if it was Kurt, I think I would probably take the Falcons. But knowing that it's Michael Penix, Penix. I just think that you need some growing pains, right? They're going to have a year of film now. The Buccaneers do. Their defense does to, come up with some way to make him uncomfortable. And I believe year 2 is always like the toughest for quarterbacks. So I just like the Buccaneers in this game. Next, we got the Commanders Giants. Went with the Commanders here. I just think they're a much more explosive offense. I believe in what Jaden Daniels did last year. I think that they have all the right pieces and they added to it. They added Deebo Samuels. They added a ton of stuff to their team. They made their offensive line better. I just think you got to believe what you saw last year in what Jaden Daniels did. You can't just say it was a whim. The Giants, a lot of question marks. We got Russell Wilson. We got some weird quarterback carousel over there. Russell Wilson, Jameson, and Jackson Dart. It's just a hodgepodge of quarterbacks. I do like Neighbors a lot, but I don't even know what their defense is going to do this year, if it's going to be good or not. So that is where I'm at with that one. Next, we got the Chiefs and Chargers. This is another game where I think the Chargers actually have the perfect recipe to beat a team like the Chiefs. I think you have a good head coach in Harbaugh. You have a good identity, right? You're going to be a run-first team. That's what they were last year. That's what Harbaugh loves. He loves to run the ball. I think you have a capable quarterback that if it does end up being in a shootout against Patrick Mahomes, you can get it done. They have capable pass catchers, Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey. Yeah, I just think that you have enough weapons and enough stuff put in place to actually win this game. But it just, again, feels wrong to bet against the Chiefs, especially knowing that they're coming off a Super Bowl loss. I feel like the Chiefs they're going to have to lose more games for me to not believe in them. Although as much as I do believe the Chargers have the recipe to win this game. Lastly, we have the Eagles beating the Cowboys, and I picked this before they traded Micah Parsons away. Oh, I can't believe the Packers got him. That's insane. Eagles, just all around good football team, great defense, an offense that has more weapons than you would expect it to have for how great their defense is. The Cowboys have what I would expect to be a great offense this year, but they're going to really struggle defensively against the Eagles. I don't think they're going to be able to stop them at all. Lastly, oh boy, wow. If you've made it to this part of the video, I would like to call you a A1 day one. You've made it to, 26 minutes or something in this video, and you're watching this video from a person with like 26 subscribers. That means that you're a real one. And if you're a real one, there are a couple more ways where you can support not me this time. Other people that I rock with, other artists that I would like to shout out. In the very first time that I ever do this, I'm going to shout out my man, Menace. He's been an A1 day one, been rocking with me, been always shouting me out when he does his live streams, showing my music, playing it, and I want to return the favor. So if you could please go check out this video. The song is called Ain't It by Menace from Menacing Threats Production. That's the rap group that I'm a part of. And if you made it this far, it's the last thing you could do is go support. You already committed this much time. You might as well commit a little bit more time because, you already went. The last time I did this, you already went and checked out my song. So now you can go check out his song. And you can give him some feedback. And just to prove that you did it from this video, let's do a hashtag W1 in your comment. If you put a hashtag W1 in the comment of that video, of that song, I'll know that you came from this video, and that will be awesome. Anyways, let's go back to what we were talking about. So I don't really know where I left off before I get interrupted, but I just think that the Eagles, Super Bowl champs, I don't think you're losing to the Cowboys. I actually was going back and forth on this. This was going to be one of my upsets before the Michael Parsons trade, because the Eagles, they're weird where they will just lose to a bad team. And I thought like the Cowboys could potentially put up enough points offensively with their new weapons and people having to cover both CD and George Pickens. And I like George Pickens. But now that their defense has taken a step back, in my opinion, I think the Eagles are going to win this one. Lastly, we got the Cardinals and the Saints. The Saints, I don't know what's going on there. They could be better this year than we all expect. I actually do like Radler. I just cheer for him. I think that he was just a young kid that kind of got on like a popular show and kind of got a attitude as like a high schooler, and he really matured in college, and he really handled himself extremely well in the NFL. So I've been kind of cheering for Rattler, and the fact that he was able to win the job against Tyler. I just think that there's a potential for them to be better than we expect. Cardinals, I just think you have more pieces. You were a lot closer to the top end of the league last year, and I just think that maybe I'm falling for it every year. I think that they're a better team than they portray. Their record never comes across how I feel about their team. I feel like they have a good team. I just feel like their record never reflects that. And maybe this is me just playing with more fool's gold here. But that's where I'm going with my pick. Now for the point total for the Vikings Bears, I went with 41 points. And like I said, I just think that it's going to be a blow for blow game. Somewhere in the middle, you're going to have like a 24 to whatever would make that 18, whatever, 24 to, yeah, would that be 18? Make that 41, something like that. Something low scoring, where you end up with this type of score. And that is my picks all for week 1. Hopefully you guys get your picks in. Hopefully you guys like this video, and let's have fun this year, and best of luck to everybody else. I hope you all enjoy second place. Peace.